Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Tosetti,
And I'm Kevin Gibbons.
and we have logged in a few minutes early to our caffeine TV show to give folks a chance to join us. We will start officially at the top of the hour, but right now we just want to complain about how hot it is here in California.
Yeah, it's been pretty brutal for the past couple of days, and this is a bit unusual. Usually, these type of heat waves don't hit until a bit later in the summer, closer to July, in my memory. But they've been pretty brutal these weeks.
Yeah, and so our complaints actually are related to this idea of living a savvy life because Kevin brought up a really good point as we were getting ready today in that so we live here in Northern California in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's very rare for anybody to have air conditioners, traditional air conditioners in their homes. And so when you get to 90-degree weather, you just start to melt. And then what ends up happening?
Yeah. So two things happen. Either you sit at home and you swelter in the heat and you have no energy and wherewithal to do anything, physical labor or even thinking. And I came across that the past couple of days where it was really a struggle for me to do just to work and to think and process. And I found it much easier to start surfing on the internet and just doing things, whatever I can to turn my brain off. I didn't want to think. And of course, what's one of your favorite things to do when you want to turn your brain off in front of a computer is you go shopping. And so now you're turning your brain off and running the risk of spending money. So be purposeful. That's one of the big things. The other thing that people do when it's incredibly hot is they go someplace that's cool. And pretty much every place that's cool in our society makes you pay for it some way. You go to a restaurant, you have to pay for food. You go to a mall or a store, you're going to pay to buy things there. You go to a movie theater, you're going to pay for the movie. So again, what are some of the issues here, and what are some of the ramifications?
Well, you're gonna get to your confession.
I will. The one of them was that my wife teaches cooking for the military for a living, so she spends her day in a hot kitchen. It's fairly modern. They do have some air conditioning, but still, it's a big, military kitchen.
Yeah, and on her feet.
And on her feet, and then she has an hour drive home with a little econo car that does have an air conditioner, but still. So she gets home. First thing that she wants to do is go someplace that has air conditioning. The last thing she wants to do is cook. She doesn't even want me to cook because she doesn't want us adding more heat into the kitchen. So we ended up going out to dinner and drinks probably 3 times between last week and this week when the heat spell was the most extreme. And that's much more than we normally do. And it definitely blew our budget in terms of our dining budget. So what do you do in those circumstances? Well, what we're going to do, we recognize what the situation was, and we're borrowing from the future. We just won't go out for the next couple of weeks to balance everything out. Again, it's a cash flow thing. If you're paying attention to your spending plan, you exceed your plan 1 week, that gives you time to make adjustments to make up for it the next week, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, we exceeded our dining out budget for a week, so we're going to make sure that when we look at it on a monthly basis, it will have evened out. But we have to pay attention to know that so we don't get surprised.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys chose a long time ago. You don't go out to mediocre meals. You're going out to nice restaurants. You're really enjoying that time. That's why you only go out, 1 or 2 times a week.
Well, or even less than that. We've actually cut back to, it's like 1 time a week or 1 time every other week.
But it's an event.
You try to make it important. But yeah, there are certain extenuating circumstances, and so you try to go find some place that where, again, this gets back to the thing that we just keep drumming into our heads and your heads and all of our clients' heads, which is be purposeful. Don't do it mindlessly. Don't just do it without thinking and then go somewhere and spend money. Think about where you're spending money, why you're spending money, and how you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and like you decided to do that, it was not necessarily a choice in that moment. You might have been too melty to really think. You're just desperate, right? We get desperate.
I thought you trained me well. I thought.
I don't know. Like I said, if you hit it 80% of the time, I mean, we talked about that last week, right? Yeah. But that idea that when you do realize that, because of circumstances, we had to do or chose to do these other things, then you get to course correct, and the only way that you can course correct is to be on top of
do that weekly
understanding where your money is going.
So that was the second thing. 20 seconds. Going back to the first thing of mindlessly turning your brain off and internet shopping. the basic rule there is the same thing: is just don't be mindless.
Yep.
If you and be wary that if you know that your mental faculties are a little bit reduced, think twice about going onto Amazon or any of those websites, because you know that you're not. It's kind of like the whole drunken purchasing thing, which is another topic.
Don't drink it prime.
Yeah. All right. We're at the top of the hour.
Yes, we're at the top of the hour. I do want to let you know, though, that it is, while it's still 20 degrees cooler than it was 2 days ago, in order for us to not melt and have this go sideways as far as conversation goes, I do have the window in my office open. So if you hear random noises, please forgive us. It's the only way that we're going to be able to make it through the next 30 minutes.
And it just makes it real. This is not recorded in a studio.
We're real.
This is live.
We're puppets.
All right.
All right. With that, again, if you are just joining us, my name is Melissa Tosetti, and I'm the founder of The Savvy Life. And this is...
I'm Kevin Gibbons. I'm Vice President of The Savvy Life.
And we are cash flow planners. Basically, what we do is we help people to create a spending plan for where they want their money to go over the next 6-12 months. And for a lot of those folks, they want to make some changes to their habits around spending, and we actually work with them to do that, all with the focus of quality being purposeful. It's just picking and choosing where they want that money to go. So these are not conversations about frugality in any sense of the word. If you are joining us for the very first time, the way Caffeine TV works, if you are joining us live, you can just watch us as you are doing now, or if you sign up through Caffeine TV, it's quick and it's free. You can actually interact with us, and we love that.
Please do.
Yep. So that means, you can ask questions, and we'll actually see it on the bottom of the screen, or you can actually offer suggestions, which we also love. And with that, we should get to our topic.
Yes.
And our topic today is savvy clothes shopping. So I'm going to be very clear. This is not a conversation about fashion. And it is really just about the fact that outside of food, over the years of working with clients, we have found that clothes is the #1 area where people have the most frustration around their spending. And that frustration really, it's about, having a wardrobe or a closet full of clothes and complaining you have nothing to wear, right? It's a very, very common symptom here in the United States. But it's also about this idea of, again, coming back to being purposeful with what you choose to put into your closet. So that's what we are going to talk about today. I teach one of the webinars, one of the classes that we teach is on this idea of a savvy wardrobe, and I'm going to try to condense that information into as short of see, I'm not even doing it right now. I'm going off and telling you what I'm going to tell you. But I also want to say that this is not just for women.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is not a conversation just for women. We have had a lot of male clients that have actually we've learned from as far as smarter shopping around clothes.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because you have this idea of reacting to fashion trends and trying to decide what to buy and what kind of influence to use. And then some men are very much on top of that, and other men really just don't want to pay any attention to their clothes at all. And they either have other people buy their clothes for them, or they just grin and bear it twice a year, go on a marathon spree of, here's what I need, I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to go get the same things that I had last year. That's the easiest thing to do. The apocryphal story that has shown up in a lot of movies is the story about Albert Einstein, who had 12 white shirts and 12 brown pants, and he would just go in his closet, take out his white shirt, put on his brown pants, so he didn't have to think about it. Steve Jobs, allegedly did the same thing. That was allegedly why he wore the turtlenecks, was so that he didn't have to spend any time thinking about it. Clothes are important to you. They're important. That they're how you represent yourself to the world, and so at some level you have to spend some amount of time thinking about what you're going to wear, or at least replacing and repairing the clothes that you have.
Yeah, I saw a great quote. I've actually seen this multiple times, which is basically dress how you want to be treated.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I'm obviously not a fashion plate, but there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, but you always dress clean, nice, well represented.
Appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I also confess that I do a lot of confessions on this show, I swear. But I will confess I did not get my mother's fashion sense whatsoever.
Your mother was a beauty queen.
My mom, well, then again, absolutely, she truly was. But no, she's got phenomenal fashion sense.
She does.
I did not get that. That's something I've had to work for, and so that's one of the reasons why this topic is so near and dear to my heart. And a big part of the savvy life actually stemmed from me and my own struggles in getting appropriately dressed for work.
Yeah.
And when I started to try to figure out like how do I'm trying to be better about my money, but I've got to dress. That's when I started to really realize, wow, you have to look at your finances from this lifestyle perspective, because it is all interconnected. What you spend here, you're not going to have available to spend here, and you want to get the most out of all of it. And so this idea of building a wardrobe versus just randomly buying clothes actually came from this amazing book. I know I bring this one out a lot, called Entre Nous, The Woman's Guide to Finding Her Inner French Girl. It's by Deborah Olivier. If you have not picked it up at the library or your own copy, please go out and get it. It is, it really showed me in that book, and it's a small chapter on clothes, but this idea that the French culture, they buy quality over quantity. And here in the US, fast fashion is a massive industry. Our closets are overflowing, and we can't even see what we have, so we have to go out and buy more. It's a downward spiral. And so when it comes in, actually I have statistics. Closet Made, I think it was last year, did a survey of 1,000 women. They found that the average woman has 103 items in her closet. And I actually had to write down the numbers because I knew I wouldn't remember it. 21% of those items are just unwearable for whatever reason. 33% of them are too tight. I believe that. 24% are too loose. I don't know if I believe that.
I do, because I think
Really?
because I think that there are times when people, I know that I have clothes in my closet
I
the
just
same
don't
way,
want to.
where you start getting heavy and you decide, okay, I'm feeling miserable, I'm going to go feel better, I'm going to go buy some clothes, and then some time goes on and you get a little better in shape, and you don't want to get rid of them because there's always the chance.
That's true.
Yeah,
So you have that.
I
Okay,
see
so
that.
Kevin defends
I can
the
see
24%.
that. It's a little high, but I can see that.
Sadly, 12% said, or they said that 12% of the clothes in their closet are new but unworn.
That's a lot.
So it is a lot. That's a lot of money just sitting there. The tag's still on them, and they sit there and they mock you.
Yeah.
And most of the reason why that happens, in my understanding, is that they're orphans. Those items, you don't have the right pants to wear with them, or you don't have the right shoe to wear with the pant, or you don't have. So that's a big part of this idea of building a savvy wardrobe, is that instead of going out and buying individual clothes, what you're doing is you are going to shop like our grandmothers shopped, and you're going to buy outfits, right? So it's this idea of completing an outfit before going out and buying any individual piece that has no mates already in your closet.
So I'm very simple. I don't usually think that way. I buy neutral color pants, I buy some neutral color shirts, and I have infinite adjustability. But what you said resonates with me, because that's the exact same approach we use with my favorite topic of grocery shopping and meal preparation, in that you don't buy food items, you're buying ingredients for a menu.
Yep.
And so it's the same idea of you're buying with purpose. There's a magic word again. And there's a unifying aspect around
Correct.
it.
And you hear a lot about capsule wardrobes, or it comes back to, again, it's really truly just a European wardrobe. It's that you have basics and you have a complete set of basics, and then you accessorize around everything, and it's not to say you can't have that fun, funky dress or that fun, funky jacket or whatever it might be. It's just that I think that too often we're getting distracted by the fun and the funky, and we're not finishing our basics first. And so there's a system that we teach. System sounds so dramatic. That we teach when we're doing the Savvy Wardrobe presentation. And the first aspect of it is you got to get rid of what's not working.
Make room for the new stuff.
Yeah, and I know we talk a lot about Marie Kondo. The world talks a lot about Marie Kondo right now, but she's absolutely onto something in that especially with clothes, you can't see what you really love amongst all the other clutter. Basically, your wardrobe is diluted. And so you're going to, if this is something that is near and dear to your heart or it's speaking to you right now, create a deadline for when you're actually going to execute this, because you know how much we love deadlines. And you're just going to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to clean out my closet. I'm going to try everything on. Whatever I would not buy again, I'm going to get rid of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one that is really hard, and I'm guilty of it too, is if it doesn't fit, get rid of it.
That's a big, yeah.
I've gone through this multiple times, and I'll admit that I still have probably 3 pairs of pants that I can't fit into, just because I'm gonna get better in shape. It's like, okay, I've been working on that for a while, and it's time to realize that as I get older, my body type is changing, and just bite the bullet. But I think more importantly is someday never comes, and that stuff is taking up inventory space. It's taking up money. More importantly, it's taking up brain power for you to have to look at or look around every time you want to go into your closet.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't fit, you really need to get rid of it unless there's an incredibly compelling reason.
Agreed. And I would strongly advise, do not do this great closet clean out on a Wednesday night after work. You're going to be tired. You're going to quit halfway through. It's just human nature. If you are really overwhelmed, and we've had clients that have multiple closets, you just break it down, right? Just break it down. And then if you're overwhelmed by it, I suggest contacting a friend or family member to help you go through it. But don't get that friend or family member that is hilariously snarky. That is not the person you want to help you clean out your closet.
You want a sympathetic person.
You want somebody who is just kind and is going to be honest with you and not make you feel bad, right? We have a tendency to make ourselves feel bad about clothes in our bodies anyway. There's no use needing to add another layer to that. So that's one thing. You've got to get rid of what isn't working for you. The next thing, and this is critical, is to figure out what's missing. So of the items that you have, it's like, I'm not wearing that. Why am I not wearing that? Because I need those pants. Okay, so then you're going to use a
spending book.
A spending book.
So, and the whole idea behind a spending book is we have a lot of things in our lives that we want and that we need, and very few of us can remember them all the time. So with the spending book, you can write down, here are all the things I need. Here's why I need it. And now you can say, I'm going to go shopping. I have my spending book. I'm going to go ahead and look for things that are on the spending book. And that's what I'm going to shop for this time. And that does 2 things. One is it increases the likelihood of you getting the pieces that you need. And 2, it really helps you from getting distracted by shiny things.
It keeps you focused. So right now, this is the spending book that I'm using, and I need a new watch. I need a long black tank dress, and combat boots. Okay. And that will complete. That's what I have outstanding right now that I need for my wardrobe. But you get the idea. So then you're on a mission, right? And before you get distracted by any other fun, funky thing, you've got to complete your wardrobe first. Okay. And that's, it seems pretty simple, but clothes are. They make us either feel really good or they can make us feel really bad, and then we could also just get overwhelmed by the volume of stuff. So give yourself that deadline. Be gentle with yourself, but do try everything on. Use a full length mirror and just ask yourself if you'd buy it again.
And I think that this is kind of a trope, but I still think that it's valuable. When my father went to work, he got up in the morning, he put on a dress shirt, he put on a tie, he put on a sport jacket and slacks and shoes and went to work. And every day that he went to work, he'd grab a new shirt and he would grab a different tie. And he never learned how to tie a tie, so they were all clip-ons, and my God, they were ugly. Love my dad dearly, but yeah. I have to admit that by half the ties were ones that my sister and I gave him. But that was it. Okay, he had a uniform. It was a middle-level business uniform. Today, there are fewer and fewer business uniforms. It's casual Friday, it's business casual, business formal, whatever all that means, and it's completely nerve-wracking for a lot of people. There are so many more options and there's so much more freedom, it can really confuse people. One of the things that my boss at a previous job that I worked at, which was a very staid, um, kind of formal government business type place, always insisted that we dress as if a customer was going to come in and we were going to have to do a meeting presentation for them. So that, that's a little bit kind of a dated viewpoint, but it's not a bad one.
Yeah.
So I understand that clothing levels change with every company and with every situation, but if you can get a handle on the typical level of what you need, start with that way, define a finite number of outfits. For a guy, 4 or 5 pairs of pants and 5, 6 shirts will get you pretty far.
Yeah.
That's a lot of mixing and matching. Depending on what your job is, you may need to increase that if that's really important, but make it manageable and go shopping with a plan.
Yeah.
I think that's really the key.
One of my savviest clients that I've ever worked with, such a pleasure. He was an architect in Texas, and he had heard me speak and read a bunch of articles, and he let me know that he has a system for getting new clothes in, and that is that he's loyal to one particular store, which I think is actually even women can do that.
Yeah, men do it just because it's easier. We don't. A lot of men do that just because I know that they'll have the style that I like, and I know that the sizes kind of work. And
it's the same for women, whether it's a store or it's a maker. Like I've done a fair amount of shopping at Macy's and have learned that there's a couple of designers there that just work for my height and the body shape and everything. But yeah, so he would get his mailers twice a year. They have these big sales, and that's when he goes in, and that's when he's replacing mostly shirts, and he might buy one new suit, invest in one new suit a year, but he bides his time and he waits because he knows that he'll be able to get it for 20-30% off if he just times it with those particular sales. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is and I just lost my train of thought because I was thinking about how I need to reach out to him, and I haven't talked to him in a while. If you're watching, thank you for the savvy tips. So we're talking about clothes shopping for men. I wanted to bring this back around to, so we talked about eliminating, we talked about buying outfits. Actually, one thing that I want to mention is, before I forget or we run out of time, is the 5-piece French wardrobe. So this is really critical. It's really critical for 2 different reasons. So bear with me because it is really related, and I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole or hopefully forget what I just said. I was working with a couple yesterday that I've been working with since February, and they have made tremendous strides in the changes and done a lot of changes and actually executed them. And we were meeting yesterday, and they said, okay, so what's next? And I was looking over everything, and I'm like, you guys you're hitting the roughest spot. And that is just to continue what you're doing. Yeah. Because it's easy to do the, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, now I'm going to do this. But now to maintain that, there's not
very much excitement. There's a lot of excitement in trying something new and succeeding, and then missions accomplished. I'm going to try this new thing, and I'm going to try and succeed. Oh, I succeeded it. I can check it off the box.
Exactly.
But now to say, okay, just keep doing what you're doing for the rest of your life. There's not a lot of endorphin reward for that. You don't get to check the box. It's just, I'm still doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly important, but psychologically it's not as exciting.
I think that, and also it's easy to slip. If you're working towards something, you're working towards that, you're really thinking about it. But when you're just going about your day, if you're not conscious, to slide into those old habits can happen very easily. Luckily, there are a couple. They're both on the same page, and they can just remind each other. Although I joked around that they should put a picture of me in their wallet.
With the fingers firmly raised.
Yes, that's my personality. No, luckily they laughed. But going back to the correlation to clothes. So you get your wardrobe and you're done, right? You've got your essentials in there. You've got some accessories. And now what? right? And this is where we start to get in trouble. We start to get a little bit agitated. We want to go shopping, whatever that might look like. So this is where the 5-piece French wardrobe is genius. And I did not come up with it. If you Google 5-piece French wardrobe, you'll find articles on it. There's also one on our website that I wrote. And the idea behind it is that you have your basics, and every 6 months you have permission, if you will, that's a terrible word, to go out and add 5 new pieces to your wardrobe. Okay, so these are brand new pieces. This is not replacing an item that's worn. So for example, just last week I wore, I got to add it to my spinning book. I wore out a key pair of black pants. So I need before I do anything else, I need to, actually before I buy that tank dress, I need to replace it because it's critical, right?
Yeah. Especially for you.
Yes, exactly. That's the story I forgot. That's the one I'm going to tell you in just a second. So the idea is that because you're only buying 5 pieces, number one, you're going to be more purposeful. Number two, gives you more money to spend on those 5 pieces because you're not going out and buying 20. You're buying 5, right? So it might be a cool motorcycle jacket. It might be a brand new pair of sunglasses or a really funky boot. This is where you get to add the fun and the funky in because the basics are set. And what this does is that it keeps your wardrobe fresh.
Yep.
It staves off that day where you walk into your closet and like, I hate everything, and you want to just,
And then you end up spending $10,000 replacing everything.
Exactly.
And, from my understanding, that's not a completely unreasonable number.
Depending on the client. Yeah, most definitely. So I would say just this week, there's 2 clients that I talked to about the French wardrobe, and they're all over it. So give it a try. At least check it out, do some research on it, and let me know what you think. My brain snap that I had just a few minutes ago. So the story around that, again, fashion is not in my DNA. I did a lot of research. I actually came across a couple of pretty good books. This came out about a decade ago. Lucky Magazine's, it's their shopping manual. A lot of great basics, like putting together basics. I think it's still relevant. So resources like that, but I felt like I was still struggling a bit. And I do a lot of speaking, so I'm standing in front of audiences, and when I do a topic like the savvy wardrobe, I gotta look good, right? So I decided to invest the money in a stylist, and I feel very strongly that if this is an area you're struggling with and you can afford the expense, it is absolutely worth it. And I will name drop. I worked with a woman named Amanda. In fact, I just sent her a client. Her name is Amanda, and the name of her company is Beyond Black. She is here in the Bay Area. I had just the most wonderful experience with her because I was worried that she was going to try to pigeonhole me into, oh, you're a personal finance speaker. You should wear this boxy jacket. And she really got it. And she came in and she looked at my clothes, and then we went shopping. And it was one of the funnest experiences of my life because we're going through stuff, and finally we've been in the dressing room for maybe about an hour or so, and she grabs this, actually, oh my god, it was this top. Now that I think about it, she grabs this and she hands it to me. She said, look, I know the name of my company is Beyond Black, but black is your color. And
that was all Melissa had been looking for forever, for years.
Always been my
justified,
So and my mother, again, my mom gets brought up a lot. My mom can rock zebra print. My mom walks into a room and you notice her and then you notice her clothes. She just really can pull an outfit together. So she would ride me a little bit about always wearing black. So I looked at Amanda and I grabbed my phone. I said, could you please say that again and call my mom? So that for me, again, it was a wonderful experience, but it is, if you are in a professional environment or you're just really stuck, find a stylist. There are great ones all over the country. And if you want to check out Amanda's, if you're here in the Bay Area, I'd be happy to include the information, her website, excuse me. If you're watching this on YouTube, when we post it later next week, then I'll include that link. Yeah. Thanks, Amanda.
So I think that, again, to look at it also from the guy's perspective, most guys don't like spending a lot of time shopping for clothes. So doing that type of, I don't want to say marathon session, but like with one client you mentioned who does this twice a year, that lets you focus. The thing that lets him do that is that spending book. Having a clear list of here are the
Yeah.
things that I need. I've thought about this. This is what I want to go. These are who I want to look like. And guys do the same thing as women do. They look at celebrities, professional people, models, and say, okay, I like the way that person looks.
Yeah.
I want to look like that. Making that list ahead of time so that you can go in and not have to. For me, so that I don't have to agonize over this, all these clothes here. What the heck do I do?
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming for other people who just don't want to get distracted again by all the shiny things and want to stay focused. Having that plan really does make a difference. And we stress this in every aspect. These plans, these spending books, they're guides. They're not Bibles. There's nothing to say that you see something you really, really love. Oh, it's not in my book. I can't get it. It's just that, well, if it's not in the book, think twice and really decide if you need it.
Exactly.
And then if you really do, if it really speaks to you, then get it. So it's not absolute, but having that plan just makes things so much easier.
You wrote an article a couple of weeks ago that has received so much attention and accolade. It was really cool, and you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Because it's related to this topic.
Sure. It's the other aspect of the wardrobe. So we've talked about getting rid of the old stuff. We've talked that you don't want. We've talked about buying new stuff that you want. The third wheel, or the third leg of the stool, is taking care of the things that you have that you want to keep. And the article that Melissa's referring to is an article that I wrote about mending, and it has to do with the fact that mending has really fallen out of favor, and that there's a lot of value in it. But in addition to mending, it's just the idea of taking care of the clothes that you have and what that involves. One, it's the same thing. We've talked about this with cars and other things, that if you don't take care of something and you let it get dirty and worn, it just ends up, you end up taking less care of it as it kind of degrades, and it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And pretty soon, it's whatever it is, it's a pile of junk and you have to replace it. So if you get home from work and you take your clothes and you throw them in a pile rather than hanging them up, they just, they're going to start getting damaged, and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, I don't want to wear that. You're going to throw it away and have to go get something new. So the idea of, when you get home, when you change your clothes, hang them up. Washing them, cleaning them at the appropriate time, not every time. You wrote a really neat article on basically to the effect of watching your clothes transition into the lint trap of the dryer.
Yeah, so to stop washing your clothes every time.
Yeah, don't wash your clothes every time, because every time you pull out the lint trap, that's part of your garment that you're destroying. So again, taking care of the clothes properly and treating them with respect so that they last longer. One, you won't have to replace them. They will last longer. Two, you will enjoy wearing them because they look nice and you feel good about it. And I think that's a big part.
I do. I agree. And one of the aspects that I would add to that is that that you made the right purchase if you're excited to mend that item.
There you go.
Right? Because you want to be in love with everything that is in your closet. And if something starts to get worn, like my pants, they were they were comfortable. I could rock them with anything, and they tore in a place that is irreparable, and so now I have to get rid of them. But I had mended them a couple of times before that.
Yeah. And you can look at, this is something that we'll talk about next week, of making use of everything you have and shifting things to keep using them. You can certainly take a nice pair of pants that have gotten damaged, mend them with a funky patch, and now they become your cool, stylish pants.
Our friend Craig just did that.
Yeah. So, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do that. In your case, it was a case of like, look,
it was in a place that...
It was in a place you couldn't do it, and look, I really need a nice pair of black pants, and it's not like you don't have plenty of funky, cool black pants. But that is also something that you can look at, is you can mend something and repurpose it to a different level in your wardrobe. And the last thing I'll say about that is, if you've never picked up a needle and thread, I feel bad for you, but there are plenty of resources out there, and you can learn how to do any of that type of repair work on a YouTube video. A lot of that stuff is really straightforward. And again, if you go with the idea of like, oh, I'm just going to get a funky, cool looking patch and put it over this, you can have a lot of fun with that. So
Yeah.
really think twice about that.
Or if depending on what the situation is too, like replacing a zipper, it's worth
You can do
$20 to take it to or to take it to a tailor if it's beyond your scope.
Yep.
So again, I come back to, these are not conversations about frugality. This is not about doing without. It's quite the opposite. When you become very streamlined in what you're bringing into your home, what you're bringing into your closet, you value those things so much more, and you're surrounded by stuff that makes you happy. And that, to me, that's living a savvy life. Yeah. So with that, we will be here again next Thursday, which would be, oh my gosh, the 20th of June.
It's going incredibly quickly. Yeah.
It is. So 3:00 Pacific time. And in the meantime, we will be posting this up on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you could please like and subscribe and pass this on to anybody that you think that would enjoy the information or benefit from it. Also, you can check us out on our website, thesavvylife.com. Sign up for
the list.
Our list.
Our newsletter, weekly newsletter.
Yep, it's free, and it just is a weekly list of things to get you living a savvy life, keep you living a savvy life.
And articles that we write that are we think are good and informative.
So. I think we're good writers. And and find us on all the social medias.
Yeah. And next week, we're going to be talking about how to run your kitchen like a professional restaurant, with the idea of making sure that you use all of the ingredients that you have and structuring your menus to take advantage of that effect. And we'll talk more about that. Next Thursday.
From a making life easier perspective, not from a
not from a fancy, super chef complicated thing. Yeah, the whole idea is making sure that you're using all your ingredients in the best fashion, and like Melissa says, having a theme to your meal so it's easier for you to prepare.
Yep, that's it, everybody. Right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.